Yo, what is up guys? It is Nick or the Notorious Fantasy back in today with another fantasy football video. Today's video is the sit or start for tonight's game, Thursday Night Football, Eagles at the Green Bay Packers. Now I'm going to go through all the important positions, quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, who to start, who to sit tonight with all the up-to-date injury news. Before I start the video, I'd like to ask you, could please go down below and click that subscribe button because not only does it help me, it's also going to help you guys dominate your fantasy football season. So let's get right into the video. Also follow me on Twitter at FNTSY. So the first position to talk about here is the quarterbacks. Now, Aaron Rodgers is a obvious start in this game. The Eagles' defense has not looked the best. I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers should be able to pass pretty easily on this defense. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a productive game. Carson Wentz is also a start, but he's not a guy that I see being a top 10 guy, top 5 guy this week. He'll be outside of the top 10 this week in my rankings. While I don't love him, I would still be willing to play him in this game as long as I had someone, or as long as my other quarterback was worse than him, or if I just didn't have another quarterback, I wouldn't be too mad starting Carson Wentz this given week. So the next players to talk about here are the running backs. Now you're going to start Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones. Now both of these guys, I don't love starting them. They're not a must-start candidates, but I do think that Miles Sanders will get a lot in the passing work. He's going to be running the ball a lot, and I think that he will get just enough usage to be worth it to start in fantasy football this week. Now Aaron Jones, we saw it last week. Him and Jamal Williams were splitting carries heavily. Aaron Jones only got 18 yards, but he did end up scoring 2 touchdowns, which made him come out to have quite the fantasy day. Do I love starting him this week? No. Will I start him against the trash Eagles defense? Yes, 100%. I think Mr. Matt LaFleur may be able to run the ball a decent amount on this team. Now, the wide receiver position here is one of the more important positions to talk about here because of the injury to Alshon Jeffrey. Now, we are going to be sitting Alshon Jeffrey. Everyone's saying he's good to go. He's all good to go. There's going to be no limit on his snaps, no limit on his playing time, none of that. But personally, I'm just not willing to start him after he's coming off this injury. I think that he's not going to be seeing a tremendous amount of targets. I think a lot of it's going to go to Nelson Agholor, and I am still very confident in starting Nelson Agholor this week in fantasy football. Now, for the Packers side of the ball, Davante Adams is a must-start every single week. You drafted him in the first round, or you traded for him like I advised you to do. Now you can play him. Now you will reap the benefits of a good matchup for Davante Adams. I think he should have a 20-point game tonight. Should be pretty phenomenal against the Eagles as long as Aaron Rodgers looks his way and Matt LaFleur coaches correctly so that Davante Adams gets the ball into his hands. Now Marquez Valdes-Scantling seems to be the other wide receiver to be starting for the Packers. Now I know at the beginning of the offseason and throughout the offseason I talked about how Geronimo Allison may end up being that guy. It turns out that MVS is the safer option. He seems to be the number 2. He seems to be the guy that Mr. Aaron Rodgers, the cheesehead, is throwing the ball to. So I am willing to start MVS this week. Now you are going to be sitting down Alshon Jeffrey. Like I said, I'm not too excited to start someone coming off of an injury. And then Geronimo Allison, like I said, he's just not getting the involvement that I thought he would get. Now the final position to talk about here is the tight ends. Now obviously you're going to be starting Zach Ertz. With Deshaun Jackson out, it is a no-brainer to start Zach Ertz this week. Zach Ertz is a no-brainer pretty much every single week because he has that talent to be a number 1 guy every single week. Now the Packers defense is pretty good, but I think that Zach Ertz should be able to have a pretty phenomenal game this week, probably finish inside of the top 5 at the tight end position. Now we are going to be sitting down Jimmy Graham. Now Jimmy Graham was dealing with an injury from last week, but that's not necessarily why I'm deterring off of him. I don't see any potential for him to be a top 12 guy this week against the Eagles. I really do think that he's not going to get involved that heavily, and he is a guy that's very touchdown dependent. If he does not end up hopping in the end zone, you will end up disappointed, and this week I don't really see him doing that. So thank you guys all for watching. If at any point in this video you did end up enjoying, click that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. Click all the goddamn buttons. I love each and every single one of you. I'll see you with a video in a couple, probably another hour. There'll be another video. So have a great goddamn day. I love you all. Goodbye.